At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So we're not done with this whole kiss cam, Andy Byron, CEO, getting caught on the Coldplay Jumbotron video. I tell you, all weekend long, I've been watching these memes. I guess the next day at a Phillies game, they had the two mascots dress up as Andy Byron and the head of HR, like getting caught on camera. Now, every time the kiss cam comes, people are pretending to be cheating. They're like, oh no, huh? And they're hiding their face. It's cute. It's cute. The whole idea of the kiss cam at these sporting events, I think it's cute. Yeah, because you're sitting there and you're like, oh, yeah, then you're just kind of sitting there picking your nose or whatever. And then the camera's on, you're like, oh, no. And then you're like, okay, I have to kiss or whatever. But if you're with a friend, you're like, oh, I can't be really kissing them. You know, if you're sitting there picking your nose, now everybody could see it. But you are in a public place, so you really shouldn't be picking your nose in front of people anyway. But people have been asking a few things. One, should this Andy Byron CEO, does he have a case? Can he sue Coldplay? Now, I'm no attorney, but my answer is probably not. You know, if somebody is putting a camera on you, which, by the way, I do suspect will eventually go through the court system, because we do have cases where women are coming off an escalator and somebody is taking pictures of their underskirt, things like that. But there are oftentimes where somebody might be innocently filming, and here you are, bending over or something. They catch that. They use that photo. I mean, there should be some, shall we say, not in the Andy Byron case, but there should be some protections for people who are just walking along the street or at a restaurant and somebody taking a picture of them. And I wonder where the laws are going to go with that, because right now, like with paparazzi and all that, it's just free game. You know, you're sunbathing topless and a drone catches you. It's ridiculous. But, if you're in a private situation, you have a lot of protection. But if you're public, so can Andy Byron sue Coldplay for putting the camera on him? Technically, no. Now, I am sure there is some lawyer that might take the case going, well, he was in a public place, but Coldplay mocked him. And Coldplay suggested that he might have been cheating or shy when he could have said, the lead singer could have said, oh, maybe he was giving her the Heimlich. So that's what I would have done. First, I wouldn't have been there cheating. But second, I would have then pretended to be giving her the Heimlich so that nobody thought we were just. But his arms were wrapped around her boobies. It was obvious. Plus, there was cameras showing they were kissing before. Now, then I've been asked, can the wife sue? The wife of Andy Byron, who was allegedly happily married prior to all this happening, now her life is ruined. I don't think she's going to have to sue Coldplay because, she's going to get a lot of money. Apparently, there's like a Massachusetts 50-50 law, and I think Andy Byron is based out of Massachusetts. So from what we're being told, Megan Kerrigan, his wife, who shares 2 kids with them, could take home anywhere from $20 million to $70 million. So she might not have to sue anybody. And I don't think Coldplay would get sued. Again, this kiss cam concept has been around for a while. It's the idea of doing harm because somebody you're associated with or married to is out there in public doing something they shouldn't, there's no intent. It's a kiss cam. Everybody knows the camera's going. In fact, now I think the band is even saying, hey guys, if you want to put your makeup on, now's the time. So I'm wondering if now some lawyers are saying you might want to give a warning that they're going to be on camera. Yeah. But then the next question that gets brought up is, should Andy Byron have been fired or forced to resign for cheating? I'm of the mindset, yes, but here's why. I have seen time and time again where hell hath no fury like a woman scorned or a spouse scorned. And when a marriage goes bad, sadly, there's a lot of shall we say innocent bystanders that get taken into the drama. And if you are aware that one of your employees who represent your company is being unethical or possibly going to be bringing in drama and be due to his unethical conduct, you don't have to keep them. Now, I know they suspended him and then he submitted his resignation. My guess is there was some agreement and severance or whatever where he technically resigned. But, I've seen this time and time again where a divorce happens and then the company or the partners or the employees get affected somehow by all the drama. And I don't know anything about Andy Byron's wife. She looks like she's a wonderful lady and she should not be a victim of this, but she has been now publicly embarrassed. This is extremely embarrassing for her. And it's humiliating. When somebody cheats on you, it is absolutely humiliating. And so this company is not going to be able to get around this controversy. And so the CEO retiring, I wonder if the HR, I think the lady he was cheating with, I believe she's still on leave. I don't know if she's retired or left. And then can you get a job? I mean, once you have this notoriety, it shows how vulnerable we are to cameras. I mean, it's karma. They deserve what they get, but you don't have a lot of privacy. And what if somebody is taking a picture of you and they don't have the story right? This was pretty obvious, but the power of something going viral. I mean, you might never get a job again. In this particular case, if you're doing something unethical, you're both married, it makes the company look bad. The company has every right to choose, employees that have ethical standards. But wow, what idiots these two. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams July summer sale and get 30% off paints and stains July 18th through the 28th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams July summer sale and get 30% off paints and stains July 18th through the 28th. With prices starting at $34.29, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I'm sure many of you saw the video footage of an off-duty Customs and Border Protection officer getting shot during an attempted robbery Saturday night. This involved a previously deported illegal immigrant, according to authorities and Fox News. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, identified the suspect as Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a Dominican national who was originally caught by Border Patrol in April 2023. He was apprehended at the Arizona border. Nunez was released into the U.S., still had an active deportation order. But you see video show 2 suspects ride up to the gentleman who was off duty at the time. And we don't think they knew he was Border Patrol. We don't think this was targeted. We think they just thought they could rob some people who were camping or hanging out. So they came up in a motorized scooter in Riverside Park. According to police, Nunez got off the scooter, approached the officer while he was sitting and speaking to somebody near a body of water. The officer was not in uniform, but thank God had his weapon. So he pulled out his gun to protect himself, and you see a small shootout. The agent, however, was hit in the face and forearm. He was transported to the hospital. He is currently in stable condition, expected to survive, thank God. But it was obviously very frightening, and he was in serious condition. Now stable. Nunez was also injured during the shootout. You can see it looks like he got shot, was shot in the leg and groin, and he ended up in a hospital in the Bronx. DHS told Fox News that Nunez has an active warrant for kidnapping in the state of Massachusetts, in addition to prior felony arrests. During a press conference on Sunday, New York Mayor Eric Adams said Nunez was in custody, said this 21-year-old male has prior arrests for assault and violating an order protection. At the time of the shooting, he had an active bench warrant from the Bronx and wanted for robbery from last December and a stabbing from January. Look at this. I mean, these are people with multiple crimes. And depending on where you live, it's either a priority to get them or not. According to Mayor Adams, he has inflicted violence in our city, and once he is charged for last night's crimes, we will be able to add attempted murder to the rap sheet. So seeing our officers who are just, off duty, and it could have been anybody, whether it's a Customs Border Patrol agent, God bless him, or just a family. The fact that we have criminals that shouldn't be here. And we have enough criminals. People are like, well, Dr. Daliah, there's more American citizens who are criminals than illegal. We don't want any shootings. And if there are shootings we could prevent by finding criminals that are on the loose and on the lam, we should do it. Okay, not just say, well, let's just go after the majority of whoever is a criminal and a killer, we get out of our country, period. And we arrest and detain. So seeing the CBP officer fight off his attacker, thank God he had a weapon on him, while he was shot, it's amazing. And this guy's a hero because he was able to shoot back at the suspect and prevent the suspect from going and attacking somebody else. Now, we have, from what Fox News is reporting, a high number of migrants committing thefts, assaults, drug crimes, grand larceny incidents, and sex crimes. And according to the data, 3,219 migrants living in 48 shelters across the city were arrested who had those sorts of rap sheets. And we're assuming there's more. Not all immigrants are criminals. If they came here illegally, then that is a crime, according to any country. You come to Canada illegally, you get deported. But we're talking about having background crimes. We have innocent people coming, but we also have individuals that have had major rap sheets and are continuing to commit crimes here in America. And we only have X amount of police officers. We only have X amount of law enforcement. God bless what they're trying to do. And then they have to work against these mayors or governors who are trying to make their place sanctuary havens. Looking at Zohran Mamdani, really? You want to fight for you think that's popular among your constituents, that you are not going to deport somebody who has a history of stabbing, theft, murder, sex trafficking, assault? It's frustrating because many of these individuals that have criminal pasts are fleeing to America because Biden made it appear that they had a safe haven. And when you had all these mayors saying, we will protect you, come here. We really need people not being so fearful to speak out. Now, they spoke with the last election, and that's why Trump won. But if you live in a sanctuary city and you don't like it, look at these individuals in Chicago who spoke out. Good for them. I'm not sure if the media covered it. But we had last week that lady pretending that she was kidnapped and thrown in a warehouse by ICE, yet she's running around Riverside, California on her phone, lying about the whole thing, collecting GoFundMe money from crowdfunding sites. This is ridiculous. And the media propagates this. And that's what's so frustrating for me. Being an American, you would think Republicans and Democrats and media and academia would all be on the same page. Where if we have somebody who could possibly hurt somebody else, we get them out. That's a no-brainer. And where are all the riots in Canada? If you read Canada's immigration rules, if you cross the border illegally, if you misrepresent yourself or not follow the rules, you get deported. Where are all the Canadian riots? Well, because they didn't do the open border policy like Biden did. And in fact, they let people come into our country from the north. They're like, go to America. They'll take you. And so, this isn't about the innocent people fleeing, asking for asylum. There's processes. This isn't about the people asking for a legal immigration pathway, which we have. I mean, it took my family 20 years to finally be able to come here. I don't want the average wait 20 years. But there's a pathway that they could take. And if you didn't take that pathway, and somebody could say, well, yeah, it was legal because Biden opened the border. No, there was still a pathway. There was still supposed to be a vetting. And then we start to wonder why. We have an uptick in tuberculosis, why we have lack of benefits, why we're worried about Medicaid and funding, because we and hospitals staying solvent. It's because we didn't think this through and plan. All the Biden administration wanted was extra votes. Let's get these people in so that it's going to look really, really bad on Trump to get them out. Well, it's actually helping Trump, because when we see who they're finding and who was living among us, or we see videos of this, it makes Americans go, look, we're paying for national security. We are paying for a Department of Homeland Security. We are paying for Border Patrol. Where's the results? And Trump is showing those results. And it's not easy. They have to now do quadruple, quintuple work that Japan or Canada or Saudi Arabia have to do in terms of people coming into the country illegally. Yet nobody's, the media isn't covering all the other countries deporting people who are there illegally, but it's all about what Trump is doing. So, I'm of the mindset you protect yourself at all costs. If you live in a city that doesn't allow you to carry a gun, you need to, if you're with your family, whether it's camping, whether it's hanging out, whether it's on a date, on a river walk, you need to have something to protect you. And fortunately, this Customs Border Patrol agent was able to fight back and shoot the suspect. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So many of my listeners over the past 2-3 years have said they can't get a job. No matter what they do when they apply on Indeed or LinkedIn or ZipRecruiter, they're not getting jobs. And one thing I think we need to talk about is what if you think laterally? And rather than, well, I'm just applying local, I'm just applying for a local city, what if you think laterally and think about, well, what if I apply for a job out of state? Now, usually people gasp and go, oh, how could I do that? And I did the same thing because I was actually not necessarily applying, but I was offered jobs and opportunities out of state for the last few years. And I kept saying, no, I have to be in Nevada. I have to be in Nevada. Well, it wasn't until some recent events with my family where we kind of talked about it and said, I don't necessarily have to be anchored to one state. And there's been job opportunity after job opportunity or other opportunities in media that have been out of state. And you keep thinking narrowly, well, this is where I live. This is where, there's a home. This is where I have friends. But you can actually work out of state. And you might actually like it so much you might even want to move out of state. And the out of state concept seems to limit a lot of people's opportunities. But, maybe you need to think about it because there's a lot of opportunities. So, the first mistake a lot of people are making is going through the Indeed and the ZipRecruiter and all of those. Now, for those of you showing me that your application has been under review for 9 months, listen, if a bot or AI algorithm did not do anything with it as of now, it's probably not going to do anything with it, in any time soon. And we've lost the ability to pavement pound because that's how I used to always get jobs. I wanted to wait tables. I walked into a restaurant saying, are you hiring? I can wait tables. Here's my resume. Can I meet the manager and speak to them for a couple minutes? And I got to tell you, every time I did that, it worked and I got the job. But now you walk into a place, they're like, sorry, there's no manager here. Just go online. And so you're going online and you're not applying. But when you filter and you go online, if you're only limiting yourself to your city or state, you could be having issues. And I'm noticing more and more people are traveling out of state for the job, for work, and they're finding that the work is actually very flexible with them. I know we've had some inflexibility with working remote because a lot of people were screwing around, working 2 jobs, playing solitaire, whatever. But I'm hearing from people where they take a job in California or Arizona or New York or Florida, and they do their work on site. The boss or the team goes, you could do this when you're home and then come on site for X, Y, and Z. And it might seem like a lot, but if it's a job you really want, if it's a job that's really going to help your career, it's definitely something to think about. Now, I've, very new at this. I don't know what that would do to a marriage or how that would, I would think it would help because you're not driving your spouse crazy. But, for those of you that have worked in separate cities, has that worked out? Now, we did know somebody who did work in a separate city, and we found out there was somebody he was sleeping with in that second city. So I've had a lot of, shall we say, bias towards working away from home, working away from the family, having a separate residence. I've been biased against that because of all the, things I've seen and heard. But for those individuals who are really struggling, and now with AI taking over jobs, and you're like, how can I become more flexible? Well, one flexibility is going out there, working, and then being able to come home. Now, some people will say, but the problem is if you live in Texas, if you live in Florida, if you live in Nevada, it's no state income tax. Well, I'm no tax expert, but there are many individuals who work out of state, and depending on the number of hours you work out of state could determine that state's residency. I think like 183 or you guys might know the numbers more than I. And so if you work an X amount of numbers, that's still under that, you could still be a resident of where you're at. If you want to switch residencies, like a lot of people want to get to California. In terms of California, for the benefits, for the health benefits, there's, they have some stricter requirements. If you're going to be in California, they want to know they're getting your money. So check with the state that you're working at. But, the one thing I've noticed is many of us, especially for baby boomers and Gen X's, we think very concretely, even if we're smart and we think laterally, because we come from an older time where you did a job, you didn't apply for a job you didn't have skills for, you didn't fake it till you make it. You got tested, and you would get fired if you didn't do the job well. So don't lie about things you could do. So be very honest, and yet now, and I'm not accusing anybody of being dishonest, but I keep hearing the fake it till you make it. If somebody asks if you know Python, say yes. Well, but you didn't really, do you really know Python? I'm learning it quickly. I'm learning on the job. I can't tell you how many people we hired in our medical office. I could do billing, I could this. And then they're like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, this isn't on the job training. You said you were a biller. You said you know how to bill Medicare and Medicaid. And if you don't, you could accidentally do the wrong thing. We need people who are experienced in that. You said you were. It's here on your resume. And so for some jobs, again, I'm old school. Don't lie, because we don't have necessarily on the job training for things that you need to know day one. But for a lot of these other jobs, because their computer system and their software is different, there's all this wiggle room. So you have people getting these jobs because they have the right look or they fit the right bill, and then they get trained on the job. And so the younger people are teaching us older people, look, if you want to do something, don't change up your resume. If your resume is, well, I do this, and they don't want that, open it up, because this is what people want. Learn what people want. And oftentimes they don't necessarily need you on site 365 days a year. And you could be expanding your career working in another state. Now, I'm licensed in multiple states. I understand with law you have to pass, a bar, and I understand with other certifications you have to be licensed. But for many of you where you don't necessarily have, certain specifications requiring you to have state licensure, even with that, your job will help you apply for that. If you can have multiple state licenses, do that. But, the thinking laterally has always helped me. And every time I go, wait a second, why am I doing this? I could very easily be doing X, Y, and Z. And, once you come up with that thinking, same thing with exercise. We talk about this with your health. You're like, well, I have to go to the gym. I don't like going to the gym. It doesn't work for me. I don't go to the gym. Well, fine. Well, what if you put a piece of gym equipment right there in front of your TV? And don't just lay clothes on it. Will you use that gym equipment if it not in a corner of the house? It has to be in a part of the house where you're always at, so you get on top of it. Change things up. We get so used to what we're doing. We get so comfortable. And then when we're uncomfortable, we try to make it work. And sometimes you need to leave the box. Sometimes you just need to go and do something else. And I think that's also what ages us. Every time somebody says, Daliah, why aren't you in New York? They need somebody like you. Why aren't you there? I was like, well, I'm getting older. And, there's family here and there. If I want to go to New York, do what I need to do. Life is too short. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hey America, how tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So having been a practicing physician, now we're talking after residency. All right. So I have been in medicine for over 25 years. And there's been a lot of changes. Even in my training, one of the things that has been the most confusing is hormone replacement therapy for women. And people have been getting frustrated. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to protect my heart? Is it going to hurt my heart? And I've always answered different strokes for different folks. For some of us, it's going to help. For some of us, it's going to hurt. And that's not good enough, especially when we're getting conflicting information from the FDA and the CDC and studies. So the FDA is now going to change the warnings that many of these products have for hormone replacement therapy because they think that the evidence is not necessarily supporting the archaic warnings that they have on these products. So back in the 90s, I was training under I believe he was a family physician. His name was Dr. Harris. And he had told me that if you don't put a woman on estrogen when she's menopausal, it's malpractice. Now, this was probably 1990, maybe 96. And he said, and the school of thought was women were at lower risk of heart disease until they became menopausal. Once they start to lose that protective estrogen, their heart disease started to match the numbers as men. So I remember him telling me we put women on estrogen. And in fact, he taught me about maturation indexes, where if you pap smear it, rather than waiting for the blood work to show hormone changes, in a pap smear, you could already tell if she's perimenopausal by the parabasal cells versus the superficial cells and depending on the age. And because we were doing pap smears, I could order a maturation index, know if she's going through menopause, and then start her on therapy if she needed to be. And the estrogen would be protecting women against osteoporosis, would be protecting their heart, would be protecting against dementia, would be protecting against hot flashes. And HRT, there was a choreography with it because if you just put somebody on estrogen, you still had to watch for strokes, you still had to watch for heart disease, you had to watch for blood clots, but you also had to make sure they wouldn't get endometrial cancer. So if they had a uterus, you had to give progesterone to counteract that risk. Well, I had found a study for Journal Club saying that hormone replacement therapy could increase a woman's heart attack risk. And I've told you guys about the story. I brought it up. I was in a room full of men, and they were like, oh, come on. The standard here is estrogen helps protect the heart. You found some esoteric study. I go, I didn't find it. It's what pulled up. It's a recent study. I didn't find it on purpose. Talking about how there could be heart disease, heart attack risk for some women on HRT. And they blew me off, made fun of me, and I didn't do well that Journal Club. Well, a few years later, the Women's Health Initiative came out where they had to actually stop the study because of heart attacks in women. And they found women taking both estrogen and progesterone compounds like Prempro were at higher risk of heart disease, stroke, and it changed the way we looked at HRT. Now, many of the gynecologists and family doctors and internists were like, look, If you have a healthy heart, if you're not at high risk for breast cancer, we need to protect your bones. We still think it helps. And I'm on HRT. I don't have a uterus anymore, so I don't need the progesterone. And so doctors, it was kind of left up to us doctors, but the warnings were put out there. Then I had a patient, longtime patient, was taking care of the whole family. This comes in and says, Daliah. In fact, actually, I diagnosed his wife with breast cancer. I was managing her blood pressure. I wasn't managing her hormones. The gynecologist was, but I told her you'd probably need to go off the hormones because your blood pressure was going up, because I didn't like what the hormones were doing with blood pressure at the time. And so I had taken her off the hormones her gynecologist gave her, I think, a year before. Then we did a mammogram. For her yearly mammogram, we end up finding early cancer, and thank God we found the cancer early enough. Well, the husband comes in and says, my lawyer wants records from every doctor she ever saw that gave her the hormone replacement therapy because he's going to sue. I go, fine, here's the records. I mean, after we had her sign for HIPAA and things like that, but I never gave her the hormones. I'm the one that took her off. So I didn't get sued. They sued every other doctor in that because she got breast cancer. And at the time, they blamed the breast cancer on the hormone replacement therapy. I didn't get sued because I never technically gave her the hormones. So a lot of doctors seeing cases like that said, you know what? I'm not going to write the hormones. If somebody is going to sue me, if 1 in 8 women get breast cancer and a lawyer is going to say the hormones we gave them caused that, or the hormones we gave them caused a worsening of their blood pressure or heart attack or stroke risk, you know what? I'm out. I don't manage the hormones. And gynecologists ended up taking on the brunt of that. And so it's been very confusing. And meanwhile, women are like, wait a second, does it help my heart? Does it not? Well, the UK has been, and I'm not saying the UK is, by all means our go-to, but the NHS has been actually beating America to the punch in terms of being open and honest about data like children and transgender therapy and transitioning. And so they even said the benefits of hormone replacement therapy outweigh the risks. Recent evidence shows that the risks of serious side effects from HRT are low. They said that the benefits of hot flashes, controlling the night sweats, sleep problems, anxiety, vaginal dryness, osteoporosis, muscle strength, and heart health can beat out some of the risks. Now, this is what I always say. If you are prone to an estrogen-sensitive breast cancer, you don't want to be on it. If you are prone to blood clots, you don't want to be on it. If you are prone to heart disease, you need to talk to your heart doctor because sometimes it can help, sometimes it can't. So it's very individualized. And we have women asking, does it help my heart or does it hurt my heart? Well, it depends on your genetics. The reason why I'm so excited about precision medicine is I love the idea that we would be able to, with our genes and testing, look at, are we in that group where it'll help or are we in that group where it'll hurt? The problem is we don't have enough studies saying which exact gene will tell you you're in the clear or not, because we all die of something. If 1 in 8 women get breast cancer, how do you know it's the estrogen you're taking or your genes or the electromagnetic radiation or trauma, or how do you know? So, if the FDA is going to be reevaluating this, I agree they should. That's one thing about Maha and RFK Jr. He is going to be looking at what has been traditionally narratived and see if there's room for improvement. I really believe HRT is a personal issue, and that I know it's expensive, but I really urge that people get their coagulation panel and see if they are have a vulnerability to coagulopathy and blood clots. Because if you do, hormones are a no-no. Estrogen is a no-no. You're not going to be on it. You're going to be told, obviously, not to smoke. We always tell you not to smoke. We're going to be warning against being on long flights without getting up and moving. And we might even, consider in some patients DVT prophylaxis if you've had clots. If you are prone to breast cancer, estrogen sensitive, or any sort of breast cancer, we might not, recommend it. But I got to tell you what estrogen does to prevent osteoporosis, what we've seen in terms of heart disease, in terms of sleep, And, if you're not, we just don't have enough studies showing if some of our warnings actually hurt individuals. How many people got osteoporosis or heart disease because we warned against it? So it's different strokes for different folks. And if the UK is going, look, the benefits outweigh the risks, these are things you need to think about, America should do the same thing. Talk to your medical provider and see if you're going to be at risk or not. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.